Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John's reports for the 18th of September. Well, we keep flirting right with that 50% back and forth. What we did was pretty much came down and retouched this area. We didn't get any benefit from our shakeout. Was continuing to decline and wasn't giving any turnaround point. It was starting in the right direction, but it literally rolled over pretty quick. The same thing happened with the DOC red. We couldn't get a green move above cyan. That was the key we were looking at when we dipped below the orange right there. We're like, okay, you got a little shot at some pump, especially with the rising steel, which is short-term buyers. But literally, as the day started, it faded pretty fast, and you got that separation that started between cyan and green, and that exacerbated a little bit more the other day, and even now, still doing the same thing. Now, green is still above red, so won't take much for a turnaround. In fact, if we start to get a little bit of improvement, we'll see it in the shakeout. But you've got, in this case, yellow is below magenta. There's no buying that at all. I mean, it's weakness, and it's even more exacerbated here on the Nasdaq, below the 50%. Actually, we're below the 38. The same situation with the shakeout, though. So those readings are similar, but it was weaker from a buy standpoint. The orange did not dip below the red, and that's why the little orange pops up, just to let you know that it just didn't have any substance behind it. When we look at gold from its standpoint, it's just hovering at this particular point. There's no incentive to sell. Any reason of turmoil anywhere, or even signs of inflation will cause it to skyrocket. We're sort of in a holding pattern until clarity really on both politics and direction. Another week or so, you got a debate coming up that's going to create a lot of interest. From a euro standpoint, of course, they're still holding on to that one, and the potential for it to decline, though, into the zone if bird exit pops up, things like that. But at this particular point, the Fed certainly wants the euro to remain in this more elevated state. It does a lot for U.S. Companies to have that beneficial trade exchange. And from an oil standpoint, we've had a nice little rally back, and of course, the ultimate goal is to get towards that 50 marker, but it's stable. There was just, you had some rogue actors in OPEC and that weren't behaving, and that was causing some oversupply issues in that. The return, I think, is probably still, again, suspect, given the fact that really just not seeing a consistent demand ratio going across. That bodes well for inflation. From an intraday standpoint, we had quite a bit of activity. I mean, it was a substantial day. So we started off with, the big decline that was taking place, and we started building some strength within it. And you can see each of the time that the little buy setups came in, those are the dotted lines in the green and red that show up. They were pretty decent, but every DOC spread was met with a dip of power mode 2 below the 13 line, and of course, falling shakeouts, or at least lower shakeout readings with higher highs, and those led to some really nice moves. And as we talked about before, we had these pretty decent ranges of 20-point gaps between algo levels and that. So that once you break one and start hitting, you're going to be looking at the next one for support. That didn't even get it there. We almost came down to the full 312 on that one, and it held up for a while going back there, and we got back up above 35, and it just trades back and forth. So we ended up with a lot of good, really strong moves, both to the downside as well as once things started to build, all the buy signals coming in together, and then it just propelled itself right back up. I mean, literally right to the 358 algo resistance point right there, and then boom, retraced all the way to the 35, only to come right back up again. So pretty cool stuff when they do that, because it's literally playing their own algorithm levels to algorithm. I mean, does 35 or the 58 make any sense? No, they're not even numbers. They're not on the specific lines. It's just where they decided to make their move from an aggregate standpoint, and that's the beauty of it, because they know where the range is. We see it from our positive extremes when they start to activate, and that's how they do it. And they'll continue to do it because there's no reason to change it, because it works. And that's the most important aspect of it, that it works. So we'll keep sticking with what works as well. And I'll keep putting up the different charts, getting close to a couple of final pass-throughs on the changes that I've made. And once those are all finalized and tested out, I will attach everything and send it out to everyone. As always, though, trade well. We'll talk to you later.